Hey Screen Rant fans, it's Rob here with Ryan.
That's my name.
We're back today with a fresh new episode of Theory Battle, and in this one, we're talking about what's probably one of the most anticipated movies ever, Avengers 4.
If this is the first episode of Theory Battle you've checked out, here's how these things go. Rob and I are each going to take turns presenting theories to you guys. We'll break them down, talk about them a little bit, maybe even crack a couple of jokes along the way. Then in the YouTube comments section, you guys duke it out and decide which theory you think is the most likely to be true. You duke it out in a super friendly, polite way, of course.
In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at two theories on misconceptions about Avengers 4.
There isn't a ton of information floating around about the movie just yet, but with the little that is, we've all been kind of making some assumptions about how this thing's gonna go. So in today's video, we're gonna take a look at a couple of those assumptions and be like, but what if that's not what's gonna happen?
Yeah, we're kind of doing anti-theory theories today.
And next we'll do some anti-theory theories.
Probably not that far.
And then some anti-theory theories.
Nope, we won't be doing that. Anyway, before we get into these theories, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell if you haven't already. That'll let you stay up to date with all our new videos. We're talking theory battles, pitch meetings, documentaries, and a lot more.
A whole lot more. So Rob, why don't you kick us off with the first theory?
Sure. The theory I'm presenting says that the villain won't be Thanos.
It'll be Darren Cross from the first Ant-Man movie, back from the dead with a lust for vengeance.
Definitely not that.
Yeah, okay, felt like a long shot.
So people have kind of assumed that in the next Avengers movie, the heroes are gonna fight Thanos again because they kind of have some unfinished business with him. People are expecting the remaining Avengers to track him down and be like, hey dude, really not cool of you to turn half of us to dust like that. Let's fight.
He did kind of ruin their day.
But the Russo brothers have said time and time again that Infinity War was meant to be its own movie. It really is Thanos' story. He sets out to balance the universe, and that's exactly what he does. He ends the movie chilling out peacefully on a farm.
Yeah, the whole thing could have been called Violent Space Farmer, the movie.
It almost feels too easy that the Avengers would just regroup and track him down and start punching him again.
He really deserves it, though.
If Marvel really wants to take audiences on an unexpected ride, they'll go in a different direction and actually have the heroes team up with Thanos. And yeah, that'll definitely be weird to see. But to be honest, Marvel did such a good job at building up this character that a lot of people straight up like the big purple dude, even though he killed off half of everybody or whatever.
Yeah, it felt kind of weird to feel for a mass murderer, but I have to admit at certain points in the movie I was like, this Thanos guy ain't so bad.
And in fact, Thanos teaming up with the good guys is something that's happened a couple of times in the comics, so this wouldn't be something that Marvel would just be pulling out of the blue. There was the time he teamed up with Adam Warlock to take on Magus, this evil being that wanted to replace everybody with evil doppelgangers. There was also a time when Thor went crazy and Thanos was recruited by Silver Surfer to fight him alongside Doctor Strange and some other heroes. There are actually several times where he's done stuff like this, so it's not uncharacteristic for Thanos to help out the good guys, as long as it's for the right reason.
What's the right reason for Thanos? Someone messing with the crops on his farm?
It would have to be some massive threat that could potentially wipe out all of existence, because after all, Thanos likes existence. He just thought there was way too much of it and was like, whoa, okay, let's trim this down by about 50%. If someone came along and wanted to wipe out 100% of existence, he'd be like, no, that's way too much wiping. I'm gonna have to step in and stop this from happening.
He's very particular about how much existence should exist.
Right, and actually, based on some leaked merchandise for Avengers 4, it does seem like something that could threaten all existence is on the way. Part of the description on this leaked box art for some Thor and Rocket toys says, quote, Rocket teams up with a new crew to guard the galaxy from an even greater threat. That definitely sounds like something more powerful than Thanos coming.
So if Thanos isn't the villain in Avengers 4, who could be? You already ruled out Darren Cross.
There are a lot of different options actually. A couple of really good ones would be Annihilus and Galactus, but they're caught up in the whole Disney-Fox merger right now, so it's not super likely that they'll be the big bad guys in Avengers 4.
Save them for phase 4 or 5, I guess.
A cool route that Marvel might take is to have the Celestials be the giant threat in Avengers 4. We already saw how powerful one Celestial could be when Ego went nuts in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. They were super lucky to win that fight if we're being honest.
True, I mean the Guardians were fighting on him and somehow he still lost.
So anyway, Marvel has made a pretty big deal of talking about Celestials. It's not too crazy to imagine that the rest of the Celestials are out there dormant somewhere, and that Thanos using all their Infinity Stones at once during the snap could wake them up. Then you'd have this situation where a bunch of Celestials are trying to get their hands on the stones, and fighting one Celestial was hard enough in Guardians 2. Imagine a whole bunch of them on the way.
Definitely not super easy, definitely an inconvenience.
Yeah, and plus a bunch of Avengers are dead now, so the team of heroes is pretty limited. If they want an actual shot at winning, they might be willing to do something crazy to take on the Celestials. Maybe even something crazy like teaming up with Thanos.
Oh snap, good theory, Rob.
Thanks, Ryan, so let's hear yours.
Yes, sir. So the theory I'm presenting says that the Avengers will not time travel. So first off, this theory is kind of a slap in the face to one of the major theories floating around right now about Avengers 4. In fact, this theory has made the rounds so much that it almost doesn't feel like a theory, it feels like what we know about Avengers 4. The theory that the movie is going to feature a whole lot of time travel.
Yeah, that theory has definitely been all over the place, including on this channel.
And I get it, it's easy to see why. There's that series of set photos floating around that seem to pretty clearly show some time-traveling Avengers. You have an older Tony Stark hanging out with Ant-Man and a younger Captain America in what seems to be the Battle of New York. They also have these little watch-looking things on their hands, and watch-looking things usually have to do with time. Ant-Man and the Wasp also ended with Janet Van Dyne basically saying the words time vortex and then winking at the camera. There's a lot of stuff to back up the time travel theory, and I get it. And maybe it's even true, who knows? But it's also possible that those might have been misdirects. I mean, you drop the word time a couple of times, you leak a few set photos, and everybody starts writing up their Avengers 4 time travel theories.
We certainly did.
And that's great for Marvel. Everybody's talking about their movie and going off on these time travel tangents without actually getting close to spoiling the movie. But there's a big loose plot thread in the MCU that hasn't been revisited since it was introduced, and it's possible that it's going to be key in the next movie. I'm talking about barf.
Ah yes, that famous scene where all the Avengers drank too much and started puking.
Not that kind of barf. Tony Stark introduced us to this technology in Captain America Civil War. Binarily augmented retroframing, or BARF. An extremely costly method of hijacking the hippocampus to clear traumatic memories.
Ah right, another one of those scenes where Marvel got to play around with their de-aging technology.
Yeah, they definitely like doing that. So the use of BARF technology may have just seemed like a cool new way to dump exposition on the audience, instead of having a flashback. But there are some Avengers 4 set photos floating around that people seem to talk about a little less than those time travel ones. And these ones show that BARF tech is being used.
Please stop saying barf so much.
Look, I'm not gonna say binarily augmented retroframing every time, so you're gonna have to put up with a little more barf. So some set photos show that barf tech is being used seemingly in those same Battle of New York scenes that we're all assuming are time travel related. Even co-director Joe Russo said this about barf. He said, quote, "Certainly there is a 5-minute sequence in Civil War around a piece of technology that was laid in for a very specific reason. If you go back and look at that film, you may get a hint as to the direction." He's basically saying barf is important, go rewatch the barf scene.
So what would be the direction they go with barf?
Well, there are a couple of ways they could go with it. One way would be to revisit the moments where they came in contact with Infinity Stones as a way to better understand them or find some other key piece of information they need. Maybe Shuri is working on some project with her scans of the Mind Stone and she's like, if only I could see some other Infinity Stones, I'd be able to reverse the snap. Then Tony's like, let's barf it up, guys. There are also some set photos featuring the Guardians in their costume from their first movie. There were set photos of Asgard, which is destroyed now. So these are all memories that surviving Avengers have of being in the same general vicinity as Infinity Stones. So in those so-called time travel set photos, maybe they're inside of memories, not actually physically back in those moments. Another route they can take, according to this dude on Reddit named The Middle Dude, is to use barf to rewrite reality.
Wait, what?
His theory is that through the quantum realm, Ant-Man will somehow be able to get his hands on the Reality Stone. Maybe not literally, because he'd probably explode and whatnot, but he'd get out of the quantum realm with an Infinity Stone and bring that over to the big brains of Tony and Shuri. Then Tony and Shuri will somehow combine the Reality Stone with barf technology as a way to recreate those key moments and basically get their hands on these duplicate reality versions of the Infinity Stones.
That's kind of a mind bender.
Kind of, yeah. But essentially you'd end up with the Avengers creating their own reality where they have all the stones and then using them. The big benefit of this theory is that Marvel doesn't have to start dipping too deep into the time travel well, which is definitely a slippery slope in storytelling.
It is the ultimate problem solver.
Exactly, you start to introduce time travel technology and none of the future movies will have any weight or any sense of danger to them. A new bad guy shows up, let's go back in time and stop his evil plan before it starts. A bomb goes off, let's go back in time to before it exploded. You have bad gas, let's go back in time and not have that extra serving of cheese. And so yeah, that's about it.
Good theory, Ryan. Now let's go through a quick recap of the two theories so people at home can decide which one they think is the most likely to be true. My theory says that Thanos isn't the villain of Avengers 4. Infinity War is meant to be its own movie. Some Avengers 4 merchandise teased a bigger threat on the way. Maybe the use of the stones woke up that bigger threat, like the Celestials.
And my theory says that the Avengers will not time travel in Avengers 4. There are set photos showing Tony's barf memory technology being used. The Russo Russo brothers have said this tech is important, and the Avengers would use it to learn about the stones or collect alternate versions of them.
So now let's turn it over to you guys in the YouTube comments section. Which of these two theories do you think is the most likely to be true? Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, and also let us know if you have a different theory about Avengers 4. Who do you think the bad guy will be? Who do you think is gonna die?
If this is your first episode of Theory Battle, we have lots more episodes on the channel that you could check out. Also, if you like this episode, please do consider hitting that like button and sharing it with your friends.
You could even subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined and ring that little bell. That'll let you keep up with all the new videos we put out.
Thanks for watching, guys, and check back soon for a brand new episode.
Bye-bye.